Long ago, over 9,000 years ago, my family came from Japan, even though I do not look Japanese. Hello folks, this is Tom from anti-proton.com. I'm not Japanese. As a disclaimer, I should point out, I don't even know how to say anything Japanese except for nani, which apparently means what? But anyhow, I am cooking an interesting little meal tonight, and my meal has kind of a Japanese sort of twist to it. Of course, it is not actually Japanese, because I don't know anything about Japanese people or Japanese things. But then again, as you know, I love disclaimers. So anyhow, join with me as I make some incredibly tasty food. Or at least I think it'll be tasty food, and reasonably cheap too. Hello folks. Alrighty, let's start with the first course of the meal. I'm going to fill these little tiny cups right here that I got at the store with a little tiny bit of miso soup. Kind of a basic miso soup. And this is going to be really simple to make. This is the first part of my meal. I'm also going to make an additional little tiny bit of it so that I can have it later. If you hear a noise in the background, that's my infernal dishwasher that just won't cut off. It doesn't know when to be quiet because I'm doing a video. Alright, as you know, I use Pyrex or Borosil for everything. Pyrex is Borosil. They're all borosilicate glasses. I also use them for all my beakers too when I'm doing science. Okay. So I'm going to fill this guy up right here with the miso soup. I'm going to fill another one that's like it that I can have later because I love miso soup. Now the base of miso soup, the most important part of the miso soup is this. A fermented soybean paste. Looks terrible, doesn't it? But it tastes so good. To put it to anybody who's never had it before, if you've ever been to a Japanese steakhouse, they have a tendency to have a really similar way of serving the food in almost every one I've ever been to. One thing they love to do is they love to serve that goofy soup stuff they serve at the very beginning. That soup is sort of nearly like a miso soup usually. And anyway, that's what they usually use in it right there. I'm going to start out with low sodium vegetable broth. Always low sodium because let me tell you something, that soybean paste has plenty of sodium in it. You're not lacking any sodium. I find that this type of food is reasonably good for you except for salt. That's about the only thing that's not good for you that's in it. Probably should shake this up first. I'm not going really brand specific here, so if you see brands, I'm not really trying to show off a particular one. I'll make a deal about it if I think it's some wonderful brand that's so great. These are just the ones that I bought. Which, I mean, I guess it means I like them. I'm just not a super convert, I guess. I'll pour this in here. This is vegetable broth. Sometimes I also use mushroom broth. I'm going to make a second one of these so that I have another one for myself for later because I love miso soup. It's really, really tasty. It's not a meal. It really isn't a meal by itself. It's not like chicken noodle soup or anything. You need something with it. But if you just want something that's really savory and tasty, this is super good, super duper good. My recipe is pretty simple. It's simpler than most people's recipe. I take a sweet onion like this. Is this a sweet or Spanish? I think that's a sweet onion right there. And I chop it up like this, and I add it to the soup. Now, some people would probably think it might be better to chop this into the most microscopic amounts you could ever get to. Depends. I like big chunks of stuff. A lot of people are not like that. A lot of people like tiny little bits, and if you want to, you can chop it and chop it and chop it until your head falls off, and that's perfectly fine with me. Next up on the list, green onions. Green onions are awesome. Let me move the soups out of the way. Hold on a second. There we go. Here's a green onion. My cutting board is one of the things that's inside the dishwasher. Talk about not planning ahead. Anyway, here's a green onion. I'm going to cut the back end off. Sometimes I use that for things, not always. Here's my secret to green onions. Everybody probably already knows this anyway. But I fold the green onion up like this in little tiny bits. And then that's making quite a nasty noise today. and I cut it up like this. I'm going to use some of this green onion when it's chopped for other parts of the dinner tonight. So I'm going to chop plenty of it. Because you really, in my opinion, can't have too much green onion. I don't mind a little bit of the white part getting mixed up in my food too. Some people say only use the green. But you know, whatever. As I've stated a million times before, I am no culinary master. For example, I'm cutting on a plate. Some people, like chefs for example, would probably cringe. They're probably sending me flame this very moment, saying, "My God, man, you just cut on a plate. What's wrong with you?" Well, who knows. Next thing up on my list is ginger. This is like a staple in my food, fresh ginger. We break a piece off. It's very, very, very pungent. Ginger contains a particular sort of chemical called gingisol. And gingisol is very calming to the stomach. It's wonderful stuff. And I basically take this little cheese grater thing and go at it. I love ginger, and I don't ever think that I can have enough of it in my food. I'm not sure if I can ever have too much ginger. That should probably be plenty for what we're doing, so I don't make everybody else gag. Okay. Now I'm going to add that to each one of the soups in kind. Here's the first soup. Add some of the onions. And add about half of the ginger. Just kind of dump it on in there. And now we'll do the same for the second soup. Add some green onions. Get a little bit of ginger. Just kind of toss it on in there. And now for the next and possibly most important part. Let me wash my hands. Alright, this is one of the most important parts. Now you add the miso paste. That right there, this whopping little blob right there is enough, easily, for this. Almost too much. Now there's virtually no point in stirring that right this moment. I mean, I'll give it a stir, but it's barely gonna come apart. Oops, it's gonna stay about the same all the way through. And the reason for that, of course, is the miso stuff needs to be heated first. A little low sodium soy would be nice to add to this too, but low sodium. Just a little bit. The reason low sodium? This already has plenty enough as it is. Alrighty, now we're going to take a little bit of roasted garlic. Just a little bit. Depends on how much you want to give to your people who are eating it. A little bit. Maybe a little bit. I might have a little bit more in this. Right there. There we go. I like roasted garlic. I generally use huge amounts of it, but I don't want to gross you guys out, so I'm just going to put a little bit in. Okay. Oops. Put the cap back on that. Alrighty. And now, to make it flavorful, I'm going to add a little bit of black sesame seeds. Just a little bit. Little pepper. Because I like pepper in everything. Now these little tiny, basically miso soups are ready to go. I'll put the top on them. This one right here will go in my refrigerator. It will keep for many days. This one will go in the microwave for about 1 minute. Make sure to open your top up a little bit when you're in the microwave or it will explode. I'm going to shake it up when it comes out of the microwave and pour it in these little bowls right here and serve it as a side dish. Now, on to the next portion. Alright, for this next part we're going to stray just a little bit from the methods that we were doing. Like I said, this is not actually Japanese cuisine. This is Tom's cuisine, which just happens to be sort of Asian oriented, if you like. So, nobody send out the ninja strike teams to kill me. Anyhow, we need to have a little bit of protein with our food. Because miso is all good, soybean actually has a lot of protein in it, but we need like meat. But of course fish is really good for you, so we're going to have some fish. I'm going to take some zero fat, zero everything olive oil. It has nothing in it. I don't know what the hell it is. Probably lipids or something. But whatever it is, I'm going to spray this aluminum down pretty well. Because there's nothing in this, so I guarantee it's not going to do anything bad to me. And then I'm going to, let me wash this off and bring it over. I have the piece de resistance. This. Call the police! Yes, this fish. This is a trout. It is a super tasty trout. Why does it look like this? Well, my friends, because it is a fish. I get sick to death of food that doesn't look like food. This is what the damn thing looks like. I think it's tasty, personally. Help me! Help me! Yeah, whatever. So I cut him open, made a couple slices right down the middle right here. So the reason I did that is so that I could do this. Put the fish out like this, so it would come out pretty well when it was all said and done. Alrighty, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this olive oil again, spray the inside of the fish too, so it'll sizzle up nicely. And then I'm going to take some miso paste. I love this stuff. Basically it's just soybean paste, really. And I'm going to smear it on the fish. Put some right down the middle here. And all over, and smear this around on the fish. The reason I'm going to do this is because it's going to give this fish an absolutely delectable taste when it's all said and done. Basically put, there's very little that miso doesn't make taste better, or at least fermented soybean. It's not really miso exactly. I should stop saying that because I have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's okay. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Alright, now I'm going to take a little bit of rice seasoning. I still have some of this stuff on me. A little rice seasoning. Why rice seasoning? Who knows? This isn't rice. But I love this stuff. It tastes pretty good. It's basically seaweed and some seaweed-oriented stuff. Here's the brand if you're curious. Yum! A little bit of basil garlic seasoning. This fish is going to taste like $1,000,000 when it's done. Now, if, for example, you wanted something that made it salty, if you want a nice salty flavor, you could use some of this light salt, potassium chloride. Those who know anything about potassium chloride know that it's actually radioactive, because it contains potassium-40, a radioactive element. It's definitely something to put on our food. This will give it a nice salty flavor, but without adding sodium to the fish. Because we want salt, but we don't want salt. Little pepper. Often I like to suggest that you can use pepper instead of sodium. Or salt if you like. Some green onions. Because we use them throughout the rest of the dish, so we'll use a little bit of them here. Just to kind of keep a nice, coherence to our flavor. I'm sure that chefs have a name for this, or maybe they don't. Their name for this might be, oh my god, disaster wreck. But how self-deprecating of me. This fish is going to be hella awesome, and at 350 degrees and in the oven for about 10-20 minutes, it'll be good. I'll check it with a meat thermometer every now and then, stab it to make sure it's done, about 130 degrees. Check like your official temperature thingamabobber gauge before you cook, because I don't want anybody coming back and saying, I did it to 130 degrees and I got sick, Tom. Well, that's your fault. You're an adult, you check the thing. But it should be 130 degrees as far as I know. We'll see if it kills me. Now, on to the next course. The egg rolls. Oh boy, I smell that miso and that fish cooking. Let's make some egg rolls. I like to use Melissa's egg roll wraps. I told you I'd show you something if I actually like the brand. Melissa's is pretty good with the little carrot right here. I don't know if it's like the greatest thing ever made in the entire world, but it tastes pretty good, and I'm generally pretty satisfied. Alrighty, I take the little rolls. Let's take a paper towel. I wiped this off, and apparently I left a little bit of water on it. And let me tell you something, these things just grab the water and soak it right up. Whew! Alright, so these are egg roll wraps. Alrighty, now there. The top one didn't look so good. Only going to make a couple. Alright, so first thing is first. These are a little dry. I probably should have gotten some fresh ones at the store today, but I didn't. So I'll just deal with the dry ones. First thing is first, I put the egg roll wrap down. Turn it like this. Put a little bit of onion in it. And where did I put that stuff? Here it is. Found it. A little kimchi. So this is like pickled cabbage basically. It tastes super good. A little pickled cabbage. Let's get a good chunk in there. Nice piece. Rip it up, throw it on there, toss in that cabbage. A little bit of ginger. Some green onions. Now a smart thing to do, you could mix this all up into like a batter of some variety before you even come near this. That might be a smarter way to do this than what I'm doing. But whatever, this is the way I tend to do it, by hand. Some bean sprouts. Drop of garlic across the entire thing. Again, I love my black sesame. Now that we have all of this together, we fold this over once. We fold this here once. Fold this here once. Look at that, it's coming apart. Then we roll. Then we roll. Then we roll. Now me, here's my trick. I put a drop of soy sauce in a cap. And then I use soy sauce to seal it. Why soy sauce? Because soy sauce tastes awesome. It tastes better than water. And you can use an egg mixture if you want to. If you're careful when you do it, soy sauce will work great. If you're not careful, if you're doing a whole bunch and you're doing it really fast, you don't have really time or whatnot, you should probably use some kind of egg mixture. Alright, now let's do a montage as I fix the rest. Alright, I had an actual problem with mag rolls, so I was only able to make this one right here. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make one in general. You get a frying pan really hot and take the egg roll, put it on top, and let it sizzle. Normally I'd put 3 or 4 on here. And you just let them sizzle on top of this and they kind of fry. When you go to the restaurants and stuff where they make them, usually they do it with a deep fat fryer. So this is a little bit better for you to cook it this way. I like to roll it over quickly so it doesn't get too burned on one side. Some people might even suggest cooking it on a lower temperature, but you know me, maximum heat. Now cut the thing off. Just kind of let it do its thing. It'll be pretty good. It kind of cooks up like that. Normally I'd cook a bunch of them at the same time and I'd flip each one of them and then flip each one of them. But you know, you do what you can. I think our fish is just about done and it's almost time for dinner. Wait till you see what's for dessert. Alrighty, our fish is done. Look at that. Oh my god, that looks good. It is definitely hot enough on the inside. It has definitely been cooked. I think that it is ready to be eaten. That will be super duper tasty. Let's look at that up close and personal. Look at that fish. Wow, the head's not too appealing. But that's okay. We'll cut off the head before we eat it. I'd like it on there, but my wife will scream. Alrighty folks, now it's time for the rice. This is a rice cooker. It is the absolute most wonderful thing you can ever buy in your entire life. You put in 1 scoop of rice, 1.5 cups of water, and it varies by rice. by a manufacturer. I use jasmine rice generally myself. It's not as healthy for you as some of the other types of rice, but it tastes really, really, really good. Okay, let's pop the top open on this. You know, I swear this is just not wanting to work for me today. There it is. Look at it steaming. Hot, sticky rice. And it's sticky rice too. See? It's stuck right to my finger. I'm going to put it down here on the plates. And then the theme of tonight so far has been onions and green onions, like sweet onions and green onions, and ginger. So I mix those three together, as well as a little kimchi and some other things. So let me get some of this rice. Now normally one likes to serve rice in a bowl. My hands, by the way, are very clean. When you cook and you're going to touch your food, you best make sure that your hands are very clean. I'll give you one bit of warning about sticky rice. Ow, 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 ow. When you're cooking with sticky rice, remember, it's sticky. It'll stick right to you and burn your hands off. Kind of, let's get this molded together there. I've seen people do this, the molding of the rice here, in ways that are just so artful, you're just amazed. You're like, how'd you do that? How'd they do that? But I am not so artful, so I will just kind of clump it on there, as I do. Ow! Okay, 2 clumps of rice. Done. Close the top. Rice for a couple of days. Now, we'll put a little bit of the garnish here on one side. Drop a little bit on the actual top. Put some on the other one on the other side. Same basic thing. Okay, now I'm going to break these larger pieces of cabbage up and I'm going to throw them on the top. The reason I'm breaking the cabbage up is it makes it easier for people to eat. I'm going to put some of the cabbage around the outside in various places. Some of the sauce. Everybody gets a mushroom, 1 shiitake mushroom. A couple water chestnuts, just to kind of add to it. Drop of soy sauce. Everybody likes soy sauce. A little bit of rice seasoning. A little bit of black sesame. You notice that I've used the same basic things in each one of my creations tonight here. And the reason I've done that, I have other stuff to use. It's not that so much. It's that I like to keep everything sort of uniform. I want things to be different, but to all kind of share a similar origin, if you like. Now look at this. See if you like the looks of that. I think it's going to be reasonably tasty, but we'll see what you think. More importantly, we'll see what the girl thinks when she gets it. As you can see, folks, this is the result of good planning. And you have a little bit of plum sake to go with it. And then you have your fish with your egg roll and your rice to go with it, and a little tiny bowl of miso right here. And that is what one will eat when they are watching anime, which I do love to do. Isn't that just creepy? Don't you love it? But wait till you see what's for dessert. Anyhow, let's see what the wife thinks. Come on out, it's dinner time.
What's for dinner? Oh my god.
As you can see, the wife is impressed because she realizes that this is not regular takeout. It actually does not suck. And to go with it for dinner, there is this little cake piece right here. This is actually a chocolate dome cake, very specifically a truffle cake, from a little grocery store nearby called Wegmans. Thank you, Wegmans. With this added to this, a feast fit for a girl. Don't worry, honey. As soon as I cut this off, you can eat it. Anyhow, folks, this has been Tom from anti-proton.com, and goodbye.